Nor do we seek an earthly kingdom, obviously. We don't put our heart here so that we join hands with people and say, let's make this world as good a place as we can. Let's clean it all up and make it a beautiful world as much as we can. Our goal is to save souls, not to save the cities or the justice system or the economy. Our goal is the soul of men. That's what we're interested in. We're not seeking a kingdom here below. So negatively, our hearts, knowing that all these things will be burned up, our hearts are not set on the things here below. Positively, someone who believes this will be busy. Now, I draw that not so much from this text alone, but from other places which speak of the end, because here is the danger that we might think, well, if everything in this world is to be burned up, why work? I'll just wait for Jesus to come. He's coming someday anyway, so I'll let the government take care of me, and I'll just sit down and wait for the Lord to come. There were those, actually, in Paul's day that had that idea in the days of Peter and Paul. And Paul had to rebuke the people of Thessalonica, not once, but twice in his epistles to them. We read, for example, in 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 11, this. He exhorts them in 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 11, and that ye study to be quiet, and to do your own business, and to work with your own hands as we commanded you. Work, he says. Because there were some in the city of the saints of the church of Thessalonica that were saying, why work? Jesus is coming anyway, and they believe any day he could come, so why should we bother to work? He says, no, work. Some of them didn't get the message. And so we had to come back to them in the second epistle in chapter 3, verse 10, and say this. Listen, people, if any will not work, neither shall he eat. Get busy. You have work to do. Work with your hands the thing that is good, so that you may have some money to be able to support the poor, to be able to support the causes of the kingdom of Jesus Christ. Work, he commands his church. But you do so as a pilgrim and a stranger, as somebody who says, this world isn't my home. I'm a foreigner in this place. This really is not a land where I belong. My home is somewhere else. I'm on my way there, and this earth will all be destroyed. I'll work here because that's what my Lord commands me to do. And my most important work that I'm concerned about is the work of sending out the gospel of Jesus Christ, because I know that the Lord will not return until every last one of the elect are gathered, and he uses the preaching of the gospel to gather his people. So my money is most importantly put toward the causes of the kingdom, toward the church work. But you see, it affects the whole of our life. Seeing, therefore, that all this world and all our possessions will be burned up, what manner of people ought ye to be? There are people waiting for the coming of Jesus Christ. They are looking for and eagerly desiring, hasting unto the coming of that day. Now that's because our hope isn't negative, merely that this heaven and earth will be consumed. What happens next? And that's the positive side, and that's verse 13 of 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 13. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. We are a people expecting a new creation. Notice that verse 13 says we are looking for this because This is what God promised. According to his promise, we are looking for a new heavens and a new earth. And I'd like to point out from the Old Testament that that is in fact promised already in the Old Testament. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 65, verse 17. Isaiah 65, verse 17 is an explicit promise concerning the new heavens and the new earth. Isaiah 65, verse 17 reads, "For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind." And then in chapter 66, verse 22, we read a confirmation of that. Chapter 66, verse 22. "For as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain." So already in the Old Testament, God was saying, I will make a new heavens and a new earth. Romans chapter 8 says that the creation groans, longing to be delivered from the bondage of corruption unto the liberty of the children of God. That implies a new heavens and new earth. But the book of Revelation makes that explicit. In Revelation chapter 21. Revelation chapter 21, John writes in the very first verse of Revelation 21, "I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away." They were gone. Verse 5, "And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new." A new heaven and a new earth. God has promised that. He doesn't merely promise He'll destroy everything. That would leave us wondering, well then what? Where will we live? What will it be like? He says, I will build a new heaven and a new earth. Out of that fiery, molten ash that God has formed by the consumption of the first, there will be a mass of material, probably something like the first creation when God called into existence the mass of material, and we read in Genesis, it was without form. It was void. You couldn't see anything there. So will it be when Jesus burns up this creation. There will be that mass of material, no form, no structure. And out of that, just as God spoke the word and called into existence the heavens and the earth, so Jesus, the Word of God, will create a new heavens and a new earth. A glorious world which will not be as it is now, where we have an earthly material world and then a heaven where you can't see into it, which you can't hear anything and you couldn't live there, but a heavens and an earth which become one in Jesus Christ. We're not told many specific details about that world. We know it will be perfection. There will be no corruption there. There will be no sin. There will be no disease, no pain. No one will ever get sick again in the new heavens and new earth. You will never be tempted to sin. You will never need to grieve over a sin that you have committed. Can you imagine that? Never having again to say, forgive my sins, because you never will sin again. All the evils that are found in this life, all the injustice, all the pain, all the physical suffering will all disappear in the new heavens and the new earth.